Saturday! So, Saturday, one of the most epic days of all of Comic-Con. Friday and Saturday usually sell out. Sunday's cheaper because that's the time when everyone's gotta fly back home. So Saturday was gonna be a packed day, you know it. But funnily enough for me, since I wasn't planning on going into Hall H, it wasn't as crazy for me, but that's totally fine. So let me tell you the madness of Hall H. Even though I personally wasn't a part of it, my friend was basically on the front lines and she just went through everything and she was texting me, messaging me, all the crazy stuff that was going on. So yeah, here are some of the inside details of that crazy Saturday. From my understanding, the day before, you have to be in line already for wristbands and so forth, and they have been trying to enforce policy where you can't line up before a certain time because it just causes like a hazard on the, the bayfront with just crowds and mobs of people. And it also is a little bit ridiculous. You do want to see the panel, but you have other things you want to do, and it just feels very unfair to kind of block your whole day out, and other people who don't have Friday badges get to block their whole day out just to wait in line for it. So, you know, it's a little though, because you can't argue that technically they want it so badly they're gonna cut out everything of Friday. But I think one day I'll have to detail, I think it was either 2014 or 2015 Comic-Con, the year before they did the wristband. That was my first time doing Comic-Con too, so it was nuts. I was just not prepared. Okay, so what happened here? What happened this time in 2019? Well, my friend's line group, they got together and they were waiting in line like a good courteous line goers would be, but then for some reason people just started pretending to be part of other people's groups, and you know, just some people aren't that abrasive when they're like, hey, are you part of this group? Like they would ask, and like some people were like, oh yeah, I'm with them or something. And some people wouldn't ask at all. It's just kind of like, okay. It's just, the line started pretty like normal, 2 to 3 with the people, but it ballooned to an insane amount where like it was the sidewalk and the parkway thick. That's how massive these groups got into. And the thing was, it's really hard to enforce that rule that they did have, where it's one person can save a seat, I think, for up to 5 people. Including themselves, I believe, is the thing. But I'll have to double check that. And the only way to really keep it under control is for people to monitor themselves a bit. Like the groups, they need to be like, hey, how many people you have in your group? Okay, so that's the max amount of people that should be in front of you or behind you, kind of thing, right? I think that's kind of the only good way to go about this, because I heard it was like close to some fights breaking out. People were just like, wait, they weren't here before. They don't look like they're part of that group. Where the hell do they come from? And it just becomes a weird, iffy, uncomfortable game that just no one wants to play. So, say if you're using the line requirements to the max amount. So like one person is 5 people. So if you have 5 people in line, you have up to 25 people. You get to know the people in front and behind you, so you know that you should not be expecting more than your 25 people, because otherwise people just keep coming and coming and coming in. It just becomes absolutely insane. Whew. So that happened, from my understanding, from what she told me. Like it became from a normal line group and just exploded into just like this mob of people. And when they're bringing out the wristbands, it was hard to tell where groups ended and where groups started. It was a chaotic mess. If I have a picture, I'm definitely throwing it up there. Just trust me, from her frantic text, I was getting the full scope of like, oh God, I hope you're okay over there, because I was just like, oh man, I'm just chilling over here. And I kind of had a more relaxed time with that, because I was just walking around and doing my own thing. So there was this really weird thing happening where all the wristbands for A got into the chutes, but then some B's got in. She had a B wristband. Some of the people behind them that had the wristband of B were like, oh, let's just like walk forward. And my friend's group banded together because I think they were at the cutoff where they would have been in the chute next if the people hadn't like forced their way up there. So her group and the group of people in front of her were just like, oh no, we gotta hold this accountable. We cannot let anyone else in front of us, because that's not fair. We were here all night. This is our spot. Those people should not be going there. Whew, that was a whole drama. But as the wristbands worked their magic, they did get a decent seat. So her hard work paid off. My con for Saturday started, I started at the exhibit hall, and that stuff always amuses me. I'm not sure why. But like within 10 minutes of the exhibit hall opening, the line for the t-shirts at the Marvel booth was closed. That's how quick people are about this stuff. So there are a few things that I wanted to do today specifically. There was a really low-key panel that I wanted to go to called Artist Alley Everywhere, because part of what I want to do in the future is kind of create my own little subset of a brand, kind of with art, movies, books, comics, like fun stuff like that. I don't think it's not gonna be like some crazy big DC Comixology, Dark Horse, or Marvel or anything like, nothing like that. But I kind of wanted to be able to create my own like little side business so I can sell some creative stuff on the side and, you know, just keep that part of me alive. Because being a civil engineer really sucks that out of you, and I just don't want to let that happen anymore. Anyway, so that was one of the kind of the low-key panels that I wanted to go to because I wanted to ask some questions and kind of learn more about the industry. Yeah, that's another thing. Like, Comic-Con's not just about all the big shows and the big stars coming around. There's actually a lot of really great small panels where you can learn stuff from. Like, there's fashion design, there's set design, there's production advice, stuff like that. Like, I wish if I were, like, if my parents knew this, I would like beg them to take me to Comic-Con, because there's so many things you could just learn by just going in and listening to people talk, and I just was never exposed to that. That's why I kind of feel like I'm a little late bloomer in that sense, because I really do want to do some of this stuff, but I just never had the tool. So that was something I wanted to check out, and there was this one book panel. If you did watch my Friday panel video, I did mention that the book panels are pretty big to me too. So there was this really cool one called like Disney Publishing Fairy Tales kind of thing. And one question I did want to ask, I didn't have a chance to, because I was trying to rush to the Simpsons line after that, was just kind of like if it really mattered. Because I know it's interesting if you take a look at this trend. It happened in movies, and I think it's happening in books too. Like, they would have to obviously write their own original stories, and then Disney kind of poaches them, or Hyperion, whatever. They kind of poach them like, hey, do you want to write a book about Batman? Do you want to write one about Wonder Woman? Or like a novelization of the comic book character, so they can have the comic book character in comic form and novel form and movie form, so there's just kind of covering all the bases, right? So there needs to be someone to write the novel for them. But they only kind of seem to be approaching like the big bestsellers. But anyway, so I just wanted to ask that question, if it was something like where people just write a fairy tale and it be picked up, or do you have to write an original work before you get noticed by these big publishers, you know? Like, I understand it from a business perspective, because it's like, do you really want like a no-name writer, an unproven writer, to handle one of your big properties? Like, I think they've been doing novelizations of the villains of Disney, like The Little Mermaid. They had Ursula, they had Maleficent, they had Maleficent, they had Maleficent, and they had like the evil queen from Snow White, blah blah blah. Like, they are infiltrating every version of media or entertainment that we do have. So that was just one of the panels I want to go to. Ditched out a little early, so couldn't ask my question. Trying to get into the Simpsons line, because I was like, oh, you know what? Simpsons is like, it's been a while. Like, they've been coming every year. It's not gonna be that big a deal. If I just go there maybe an hour and a half beforehand, it's gonna be fine. Whoa, was I wrong. Ballroom 20 line just reached all the way out, snuck all the way, and I love actually going to the animation. The animation panels are really fun to go to, because voice actors are, I feel like, one of the most unrecognized greatest talents that we do have. Luckily, like, Mark Hamill is like recognized for both, but there are a lot of other voice actors that don't get that same recognition. And like, I'm not a super big fan of how DreamWorks and other animation studios kind of just cast based on star casting, so they can just be like, oh, we can put their name on the billing, or we can put them in the promotional tour. But there is a talent and expressiveness that some voice actors need to be classically trained for, that I feel like regular actors don't. Because if you go over the top in some voice acting, like, oh my god, blah, 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 it's different than when you have to like do serious dramatic acting or even comedic acting when you're doing like a regular film, because you can't be so over the top that you alienate everything. That's why I was like, some of the greatest comedic talents may really be great for other people, but it doesn't personally resonate with me, just because I feel like some people are just so over the top I can't even like, you know. Some of my favorite comedic talents are people that are like the everyday man, and then like Paul Rudd and was it Jason Bateman, because like they just make everything they're in just super funny, either them or the people around them or the scenario, but they have great comedic timing, so it works out perfectly. In animation, sometimes you just have to be super expressive and over the top, and the voice needs to kind of replicate that, and a lot of times our own voices aren't that expressive in that way. Like, I'm dealing with this right now. You have no idea. When I listen back to this when I'm editing, it's just like, oh god, like my voice needs work. I already understand that completely. Anyway, long story short, trying to get in the Simpsons panel, did not, ended up standing in line for an hour and 15 minutes to the point where my feet hurt so bad, it just felt so good to sit in a chair. Because the thing for that line was, it wasn't stop and go long enough where you could actually sit down and chill. So, because I brought a little chair with me, I was like, you know what, this chair is a godsend. I'm always gonna bring around this chair at Comic-Con. But the thing was, that line kept moving just like a little bit, so it didn't seem worth it to take it out. And yeah, that was just an hour and 15 minutes of standing and feeling my whole weight just like caving in on itself. That was that. So I didn't make it into Simpsons, unfortunately. I kind of wish they switched around Family Guy and American Dads, because I'm more of a Simpsons person. But Seth MacFarlane, I think Rachel McFarlane were there for their panels, and they are also very, very, very talented. They did a live reading, and I'm telling you, this is why the animation panels are just so fun and engaging to be a part of. It's because of these, like, they look like a normal person, you know, but then another voice just comes out. It's so bizarre and it's so amazing. Those were some really great panels to be a part of. Then I went to my Artist Alley panel, which was very informative, really great, kind of down to earth, low key. And then I hear the text from my friend coming like, oh my god, I'm just trying to get coffee in this Hall H line, and there is a mob of people trying to get this too. Felt so terribly bad for her. I was like, I don't know how it works, but if you want, I'll buy coffee and I'll give it to you through the doors. Like, will they allow that? Yeah, it was apparently not the greatest situation. So yeah, okay, so then I went to the exhibit hall because there was this really cute cat giveaway thingy that, like, if you play rock, paper, scissors with it, it's called Symbiote Studios, and they had a really, really cute pin that I was like, I just want to keep this pin forever. Let me show you if I can find it. Yeah. So this guy was super cute, so that was cool. I don't know, I like collecting these really cute pins. I played rock, paper, scissors with the giant cat, and I won, so I won a free plush. Yay. The only sad thing was that I didn't take a picture with the giant cat, but I will post it right here. That's what the giant cat looked like. I wish I took a picture with him because I was like, ah, so fun. I don't know why I get so excited over these things, but it was cute, so I just had to. So then after that, I was like, one of the big reasons why I didn't want to do Hall H was because I'm a huge, huge, huge Brooklyn Nine-Nine fan. Like, Andy Samberg is so hilarious. I just love that show to death. Like, I feel like it's just comedy gold. That show and Superstore are like the biggest comedies that I watch right now, and I just don't want any of them to end. That's how good they are. Like, I like them more than, yeah, Blasphemy, The Office. But yeah, so I was like, those are the two biggest documentary type comedies that I watch. So I was like, okay, I really, really want to make Brooklyn Nine-Nine. And I looked at the schedule, right? And it was just like, it's being held in like 6 BCF. And I was like, 6? That's like a small room, isn't it? It needs to be in like a ballroom 20 or Indigo or something like that. And my friend, she texted me a picture of what was happening on Twitter, and she was just like, get over to 6 BCF right now because this line is absolutely crazy. I had to dash over there. That's basically why I didn't take a picture with the cat that I like so much. So I dashed over there, and I was kind of frantic because I was like, this was clearly not anticipated by the line staff or Comic-Con at all, 100%, because they didn't have enough tents or space for all these people that were lining up for Brooklyn Nine-Nine. Insane. Like, they wrapped around like this mini tent, and then that's more or less where they thought it was gonna end, but then they had to snake around again. And I just asked people, I was like, where is the end of this line? I went crazy at a point almost, because I asked the volunteer and they're like, oh yeah, it's at the end there. I asked them, I was like, is this the end of the line? They're like, no, it keeps going. And I'm just like, where does the end? Where is the end? Yes, so finally a volunteer calmed me down a little bit. It was like, okay, it's right here. But I mean, the thing was like, it took me like, I don't know, 10 minutes to like figure out where the end of the line exactly was, that I was just like, I could have been probably 10 people ahead or something. And with so many people in line already, it was just like, you don't know if you're gonna make it in. There's only 3.5 hours before the panel. With this many people and that small of a room, I don't know if I'm gonna make it in. Like, I was actually hoping to even see Kojima. My friend said he's like really great. He didn't even go to E3, but he's in Comic-Con. So I was like, it would be really cool if I got into that panel and Brooklyn Nine-Nine right after that. So, you know, it'd work out. No, no, definitely not. So I was basically baking in the sun for a long time because they didn't have enough tents. They were just snaking the line wherever it was. For about 2 hours, I stood in that sun. The Game of Thrones thing, at least I wasn't too long. It was about an hour, maybe, like, and I guess it wasn't that powerful at that time. I'm not sure. I just didn't feel like the Game of Thrones was that bad, but the Brooklyn Nine-Nine one, when I was stuck in the sun, it hurt everywhere. Like, I had sunscreen on every part of my body, but it's still like, I could feel it beating down on me, and I was just like, oh my god. Like, a lot of us in that line made the conscious decision of, we're not gonna go to the Marvel panel. We want to see Brooklyn Nine-Nine, because the moment Marvel ends is where Brooklyn Nine-Nine would start. You would have maybe like half an hour, a little bit more than that, to get to the Brooklyn Nine-Nine thing. And we're like, that's just not enough time. That really isn't. If you know Comic-Con, if you only have half an hour before your panel and it's like a big show, or even like you're not even gonna get in. Like, that was my mistake with The Simpsons. So if we wanted to prioritize Brooklyn Nine-Nine over Marvel, this is a good choice of getting here early. And I thought 3.5 hours, 4 hours was enough. Barely enough. It was barely enough. There was this one guy in front of us where he was about to bring his whole family into the line, and we're just like, Like, I was surprised I was the one who said something, because I'm not that outspoken, to be honest. It was kind of like, really? Because they were wearing the Black Widow hats that they just got from Marvel's Hall H, and we're like, nuh-uh, you don't get to go to Marvel Hall H and then this, like, just because you split up your party to be able to make it happen. And especially we were so close, we just still didn't know how many people were leaving the auditorium or not, that we weren't even sure we're gonna make it. So I was just like, excuse me, but you guys cannot do this. You cannot do this to us. I'm sorry. They fought it for a bit. They were just like, oh, well, you know, there's this rule about the one person can hold up to 4 or 5 seats. And I was just like, no, that's for Hall H. That is for Hall H, and that is for camping, because people do epic style for that. That don't work anywhere else. I'm sorry. Yeah, I wasn't about to let, I don't know, 2 hours baking in the sun go to waste. But yeah, so barely scraped the Brooklyn Nine-Nine thing. And if I am gonna write to Comic-Con, it really would be that do not put Brooklyn Nine-Nine and Kojima in such a small room. Like, that room doesn't even have back panels, so like, I was in the back and I was like, I could barely like see what's on the screen itself. So I was just like, that they need a bigger room. Indigo, at the very least. The show was not going on downhill. It was one of those shows that got revitalized because of the Twitter support that it had. So put it back in something bigger. Like, I get Ballroom 20 had that Arrow, Flash, Supergirl, Legends of Tomorrow, Black Lightning thing going on. So I understand if you don't want to put it in Ballroom 20, but you need a bigger room than 6 BCF. Like, why? But yeah, so I barely managed to get in, but I did, so it was a very good day. Andy Samberg is so fun. And I'm sad that, Stephanie Beatrice, like, who plays Rosa Diaz, she's probably my favorite character, so I was a little bummed that she wasn't there. But who was the other guy? Andy's best friend, Joe Trujillo? I'm sorry, I'm not pronouncing his name correctly. He was there, and I don't know why, he's such a dork that I love him. And yeah, that was a pretty eventful Saturday. It was pretty good. That pretty much wraps up everything. Oh yeah, there was a masquerade ball, but I just After that, there was one final end panel with the book stuff, because I was like, you know what, I haven't actually done a book panel yet, besides half, a little bit more than half, but like half the Disney fairy tale book panel. So I was like, okay, I'm going to Harper Voyager after dark. Went there, they had this really fun session about like trying to guess the names of these books by telling you what the synopsis of it was, and the guy was pretty hilarious. He put in some really silly names. It's almost like what is it, Who Wants to Be a Millionaire? There's A, B, C, D, and then you have to guess which one is the right title, and he always put a silly one in there. Like there was a story about like a spaceship and colonization and a whole epic science fiction adventure, and he put one of the name titles as like Boats in Space. So every slide kind of gave us a little bit of a laugh, so that was great. And the fun thing was that they gave us 2 free books of the titles that they were premiering at that panel, and I am gonna check them out because I am always curious about authors being published these days. I don't know if it's exactly my genre, but check it out either way. So I mean, that's the whole point of Comic-Con, right? Like if you are having projects in the works, to get the word out. If you're an artist, to table and showcase your artwork. And even for big studios and shows too, like a lot of times like they would put a lesser known property in front of like a big one like Marvel. So at least you would have this like forced audience to be like, oh, I might check that out. You know? Like for me, if I had managed to get into the room before Brooklyn Nine-Nine, I would have had to see What We Do in the Shadows, which is like an FX production. But if I wanted to see Brooklyn Nine-Nine, it's a high possibility I would have seen that panel before it. So it does work. I mean, like for me, before on Friday when I was watching the Screen Junkies panel, they actually premiered one of their new CW shows, and I did take a selfie. It's a bad selfie, I'm sorry. I'm really bad at taking pictures without my friend. Ugh, she's a godsend. I suck. But anyway, like, I had no idea. I think it's called Pandora. Yeah, so it's a new show on the CW, and I was just like, okay. So there's a guy that looks like Robert Pattinson, except that he's more nourished. But I was like, it's funny because I always make this joke that CW only hires pretty people. At their core, they are mainly known for their teen dramas, so I was like, okay, I'll just stop complaining about it. But I was just like, well, after watching a show like Breaking Bad, your whole worldview kind of gets shifted apart from just like, not everyone has to be that gorgeous for the story to be good. And in many cases, if you want a layer of realism, you want people like to be like the everyday people. But even in the CW shows, the so-called everyday people, or the dads or the moms of the shows in there, they're all just like super glammed up. Like I've never seen those type of moms and dads in real life. It's only in the CW show. But the funny thing was, I had to see that before I saw the Screen Junkies. So in a way, it did its job there too. And I was like, okay, so I know about this show. Am I interested in it? I guess we'll see. But at least I was able to kind of get a taste from it, from what I saw. Another successful day. My friend was really happy about Hall H. I was grateful I got to see the tweets online. It's always funny to think that if you didn't have like this age of information where you can get information at the touch of your fingertips, how long this information would take to travel to you. Like, it's kind of bizarre, you know? I don't know, I just thought about that because literally as the announcements were happening, we were like following the Marvel report, and it was just like detailing us, oh my god, there's Doctor Strange, Multiverse of Madness, or there's WandaVision, which I still think is a silly title, Falcon and the Winter Soldier, which is gonna be great, I bet you anything, Loki, The Eternals, and Shang-Chi, which was great just because, you know, holds a little bit of significance to, you know, I do think it has an impact when you do see someone that does look like you on screen. I'll just say that. Like, I don't think you need it to go about your day and be confident in yourself, but I do think it does have an impact. Whatever you do with that impact is probably up to you. I never had to use it as a crutch as far as like, oh, like if there's no one that looks like me on screen, I'm not gonna watch it. Like, it's never been that. I'll probably articulate this better at a different time, but essentially, it was really cool to see an Asian American actor that was gonna play a big Marvel hero. And the fact that he was ethnically Chinese too was a pretty cool plus, because I don't see that much these days. I don't know who the big actor is that's playing the Mandarin, but I heard from my friend that his name is so big that like our parents will know who he is. So that's super exciting. So a Saturday complete and a very successful Comic-Con, as it were. One of the best, probably the best. I don't think next year can top this one. I don't want to put it on that kind of pedestal, but this one was just special in so many ways that it's hard to replicate. And that's why this video is kind of just for myself, just for my own reflection. And yeah, kind of really excited and pumped for next year, you know?